So it's all happening. What is the process now?
Well, Naftali Bennett was sworn in as Israel's first new prime minister in some 12 years, replacing the man he once worked for as chief of staff, Benjamin Netanyahu. Now that that mission is accomplished, the mission of putting together a government, winning an election, now comes the hard part, the challenge of actually governing. After the swearing in, Bennett had his first cabinet meeting. He faces new challenges ahead, not only the challenges of what to do with Gaza, for example, and Palestinians in the West Bank, but he needs to pass a budget. He needs to work on issues of state and religion. There is a lot on his plate, and it's all very difficult to deal with. He has a very narrow government here. In fact, his government was sworn in at a vote of 60 to 59, and that gives you an idea of just how difficult it will be to hold this coalition together, the most diverse coalition in Israel's history. For that, he certainly deserves credit, but it means it'll be very difficult to find common ground on which to legislate, to pass a budget, to pass any reforms, to move the country forward. That is Bennett's challenge. He has already spoken with U.S. President Joe Biden, who congratulated him on his victory. Bennett will try to repair some of the relationship with the U.S. and the Democratic Party, but every step forward here will be difficult. Every movement forward, not only because Bennett is new to this, he's a prime minister who hasn't really held major ministerial positions, but because of how difficult this government will be to hold together. All of that will be a challenge as Bennett tries to prove his doubters right, or rather prove his doubters wrong, and show that this government can hold together.
And can we be certain that he'll hand power over in 2 years' time as part of this shared term?
So there was a lot of skepticism about Benjamin Netanyahu ever handing power over to Benny Gantz. But the relationship between Naftali Bennett and his partner, Yair Lapid, is far, far better than that. Lapid spoke a short while ago. He is the foreign minister and alternate prime minister. He said, look, the reason this will work is it's a relationship based on friendship and on trust. According to sources we've spoken to close to both of them, they've agreed never to lie to each other, even when they're on opposite sides of an issue. So it seems the relationship itself is better. They trust each other. There is a friendship there. There was a lot of them smiling together throughout the course of this evening. The real question isn't whether they trust each other enough. It's whether this government will actually hold together long enough to get to the transition date, which is 2 years and 3 months away. If the government holds together that long, it is certainly an accomplishment for both men.
And Oren, you know, Benjamin Netanyahu, he is a political survivor. Does he go quietly into the night? Does he come back in a few years? What's the go there?
Absolutely not. There is no going quietly into the night. In his last speech as prime minister, he started off by listing all of his accomplishments, and they are significant over 12 years, 12 consecutive years in office and 3 years before that, especially with the political gifts he got from former President Donald Trump. Then he lashed out against his rivals, saying this incoming government would be weak and dangerous and wouldn't be able to stand up to Iran, to make the difficult decisions to carry out operations to prevent Iran from getting a nuclear weapon. And then he basically attacked the Biden administration and their stance on Iran. Of course, most of that speech was in Hebrew. He only said one statement in English. He said, "We'll be back soon," referring to his government. He then returned to Hebrew and said he'll work to topple this government as soon as possible. He is definitely not going anywhere. He could be a very powerful and very vocal leader of the opposition, one that makes it very difficult for Naftali Bennett.
Wow. Very interesting. A day of history, as a matter of fact, in Jerusalem. Oren Liebermann from CNN, really appreciate your time. We'll talk to you soon.